This is the story of our journey. We planned our visit to three great states, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Our destinations included Zion National Park, Horseshoe Bend, Monument Valley, Bryce Canyon National Park, and the Las Vegas Strip. We took the cheapest flight there, which was about $100 per person round trip. The flight wasn't too comfortable. The seats didn't recline, but this flight usually costs between $120 and $290, so I had nothing to complain about. We rewatched Forrest Gump since we were going to visit the exact same spot, near Monument Valley. We got a rental car and drove 90 miles northeast to Mesquite, a small Nevada town close to Arizona. The sun was super bright, and we realized how beautiful it was.
What are you saying? Not the time or the place, baby, it's not right. It's not right, no.
Breakfast was simple and quick. It was my first time seeing and trying a pancake machine. Richard got a quick nap, and we were all set. I made sure everything was good to go, and we drove 40 miles northeast to St. George. The scenery was absolutely stunning. We filled ourselves up with some Costco hot dogs and got an entire pizza for later that night. We also bought 80 bottles of water and some snacks. After 40 more miles headed east, we arrived at Zion National Park. We paid $35 for all of us, which I thought was a pretty good price. In the busy season, visitors are only allowed to travel in the shuttle buses. It took about 40 minutes to get to the Temple of Sinawava. Sadly, the popular Narrows Trail was closed due to high volume of water flow, but the Riverside Walk Trail was still open. If the Narrows hadn't been closed, we would have been able to hike upstream. We'll really have to come back later. After that, we took the bus down to the Lower Emerald Pool Trailhead. We saw this stunning waterfall. There was also a group of horseback riders, which would have been a fun activity. But we had a lot of things ahead of us. We drove uphill to the Canyon Overlook Trailhead and trekked for about 30 minutes. The panoramic view of the hills and valleys absolutely blew my mind. Then we drove 100 miles east to an Arizona city of Page. It rained and snowed on the way there, but we got there safely. It was very cold out, but the pool was warm, so Richard and Brian decided to be brave. Richard had actually left behind his underwear by the pool, so he went and got it the next morning. We drove 4 short miles to Horseshoe Bend and did a quick stop at Walmart to get some food for the day. I have to say that Horseshoe Bend was by far my favorite. Then we drove 100 miles east to Kayenta to get some gas, and another 25 miles north to the Monument Valley Tribal Park. The entry fee was $8 per person. The gift shop was especially cool because they had items that were handmade by Navajo tribal members. I got myself a dream catcher. The road was a bit rough, but manageable. We navigated our way around the rock formations called mesas and buttes. We arrived at the famous John Ford Point, where many of his movies were shot. This place came to be the symbol of the American West. Then we got to try a Navajo dish. We ordered a Navajo fry bread. The chicken and kettle wanted to join in on the fry bread, so we decided to take the food inside. We drove around the park a bit more, and by the time we were done, we had spent 3 hours at the park. I wish we had stayed longer, but I wanted to get on with the drive before dark. Just 15 miles north of the park was a nice viewpoint, where we recreated the scene from Forrest Gump. We also saw the Mexican Hat rock formation before driving uphill. The view from the top was amazing. It got dark pretty soon, so we had a good chance to stargaze. You can see the Milky Way as the cloudy bit that runs from corner to corner. It was a long 200-mile drive to a town called Torrey. The hotel was unattended, but had a virtual check-in system, so we had no trouble checking in at around midnight. We got some food and headed outside for a walk. Sadly, the stars were much less visible this time. The morning came and we got ready for the road. There was a winter storm warning, and there was indeed a lot of snow. I drove really carefully, but I could still feel that the road was slippery. Thankfully, there were snow plows to help with the situation, and soon enough, the conditions got better. We stopped by to get some burgers. And we finally got to Bryce Canyon after 115 miles of snowy driving. Brian did a small experiment to see if a snowball would roll on and on and on and get bigger. Sadly, it broke apart pretty quickly. We went to the Inspiration Point, Sunrise Point, and Sunset Point. I think the snow made it look really beautiful. We drove on 270 miles southwest to Las Vegas. We even saw some deer on the way there. Driving straight through the Las Vegas Strip, we arrived at our hotel, Luxor. After a refreshing shower, we got to see the hotels and shows. This was the show at the Bellagio. When we came back, we fell asleep pretty quickly. The next morning, we got on the monorail to the Link Promenade and got something to eat. Bought some souvenirs and tried out some casino stuff. I also got some coffee and s'mores from the Dandelion Cafe. All that walking made us so hungry. We got some sandwiches and pasta at Earth Cafe. We saw some more shows and had last bits of fun at the Strip. I also got to try out some cigars. But sadly, it was time to come back. Thank you, Richard and Brian, for this amazing trip of a lifetime.